Greetings, Darklings, from across the interwebs. It is once again I, the Duchess, Precious Ken, joining you on this lovely World Goth Day. And I have an exciting interview coming up that I'm going to introduce and talk to you about. But first, I have an unboxing. I love unboxings. This is great. Sent to me from my dear friend William with his new company Mooncoil Media. If you're a band that is looking for some extra promotion and trying to get the word out about a new release you have, great person to work with and check out. But he just sent me a big stack of CDs for us to look through and review here. Like one that I have reviewed before. This is the Neurofarm. And we have Dual, it looks like, Neon Apocalypse, and Autumn Tears. So those are things to look for, and get a hold of William and DJs. Make sure that you are on his list. So this is an exciting interview of somebody that I feel, you know, as the goth renaissance has come about, one of the big parts is that it's splintered off into so many genres and smaller parts. But this is somebody who I think really puts the rock back in gothic rock. They are a phenomenal guitar player, a true axe master. And so having them on the show to talk about kind of that part of the scene is very exciting. I have with me of the band Black Angel, Matt Vowles. Matt, welcome to the show.
Ken, hello, how you doing? Thank you very much for inviting me along to come chat with you.
Yeah, no, I'm doing okay for being hungover as hell from World Goth Night.
World Goth Day, yes. It's a special weekend.
I'm not getting any younger for it either, so.
That's very true.
So, Matt, I'm excited. You've had quite a few in a short time period, albums coming out that have been really successful. As a matter of fact, I really love you've done vinyl runs and tried to do some really interesting new things with merch that I don't see everybody else doing. So I want to get to talking about that, but let's start out for maybe our listeners that aren't as familiar with you. Tell me a little bit about the history of the band, Incarnation, and a little bit of your personal history so people can get to know you.
So I'm from England. I was born in funny that it might be something to do with the accent. I was born in 1970, so I'm plus 50 now. I kind of got into, in the early 80s, I was a new romantic. It was all Duran Duran, Spandau Ballet, and I have an older brother who was a complete Cure maniac, and he still is. And he turned me on to the Cure and Susie and the Clash, and I started going to goth clubs, and it just started like a lifelong love of this genre of music. And then over the years, because I work in the entertainment industry, I'm a sound supervisor and a re-recording mixer for one of the major studios here in LA, and film has also been a big part of my life. And so I'd worked as a producer with various bands and my own acts across a couple of decades, and I got tracks placed in films and TV shows and stuff, but there was never a real satisfaction to it. It was successful, but it wasn't really making me that happy. Yeah. So about 4 years ago, I decided to start the Black Angel project, and the idea of the project was for me to put down all of my, synthesizers and computers and all that kind of stuff, and just go back to, just the guitar and an amplifier, and just start writing riffs and songs and see what happens. And there wasn't even any kind of outlook that I was going to put it on Bandcamp or release it on Spotify, iTunes, or any of that. I just want to start kind of writing. And I started writing, and I had more and more and more songs, and I got together with our first vocalist, and we produced this first album. And thank God for Bandcamp. I mean, for us, Bandcamp is amazing. It's just, as everybody knows, it means we can put out merchandise. And I think the difference between Bandcamp and then Spotify and iTunes is the people on Bandcamp, they really want to listen to that music. They look for music, they look for what they want, and they're really happy to support you. They'll buy your CD, they'll buy your album or whatever merch you have on there. And I guess the reason I like it the most is there's a personal connection. Everybody that buys our stuff, I write to them personally, I thank them, and it builds up these these sort of friendships, even though we're not kind of face to face. There's a connection, and when they
Oh,
get in touch with you, you know who they are, and you can talk to
yeah.
them, and that's really kind of special. So that's how the first album started, and I'm a bit of a workaholic. So as soon as I finish the first one, I tend to start the second one, and then I just keep going. So that's how in like 4 years we've done 4 albums. We're doing one a year, and in fact the last one was like after 6 or 7 months. So I don't want to kind of do it too fast and rush it, and it's like I'm just peddling this stuff out, but I really, really just love the process. And so it's even though it's a kind of a one-man band where I'm for right now the kind of yeah, writer, engineer, producer, mastering engineer, publicity, label, you
Wear a
name
lot
it.
of hats.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, I'm not. Hopefully it's not kind of, jack of all trades, master of none, and we're doing something. But I just love what we do, and so I'm just going to keep on doing it until I guess I get just kind of bored of doing it.
Well, I can say definitively you are doing it well. And I wouldn't say it's master of none. Your production levels are always incredible. I love hearing the new albums coming out. And I have a couple of quick follow-up questions here from things that you said. Number one, and this might put a bad tone to the interview right off the bat, I'm not sure, but as you are from England, I happen to be one of the Americans that follows Premier League soccer and big into it. Do you have a team that you follow which might totally change my voice and tone on this interview?
For me, football, I did it growing up. I loved it. I think I'm actually from Bristol in the southwest of England. So if I have a team, it's going to be Bristol. Are you like Arsenal, Liverpool, Spurs, United, Man U?
It's worse than that. But Bristol is safe. That's a great one. No, actually, I'm a Chelsea Blues supporter.
Okay,
so it's a tough time for us right now. But
yeah, back in the '80s, Bristol City, they were then it was the first division. There wasn't it wasn't called Premiership, and they were a great team. And over the years, they just kind of gradually went down and down and down and down. And they've kind of sort of stayed there. And they're sort of going back up a bit. I think they're in the second division, or they just missed out on the first. But home team is got to support them. And apart from that,
I'm just glad. I think we're cool then. I think we're cool. I have no. It's not like you said like Liverpool or United or something like that. Then we might have had a problem.
Yeah, Chelsea's all right. Yeah.
Okay, so then next follow-up question here is, you kind of talked about this is a lot your baby and you putting things out for it, but you do have a new lineup for these last week that you are working with. Can you shout out your band really quick and what the other people are doing?
Yes, totally. So yeah, like I say, I'm the main songwriter. I have had, we have worked with other artists over the years. In fact, on the first album, I wrote with a bunch of different people. And for example, on the first album, Poison was written by Julie Lynn, and she did a great job. And she also did Put Your Lips on Me off Kiss of Death. And she did a great job, and she's really good songwriter. And then I think over the last couple of albums, I've kind of done more myself, not for any particular reason whatsoever. It's just I've just kind of completely got into it. But on our second album, which was Kiss of Death, we changed direction slightly with the vocalist, and I had looked for a new vocalist for literally months and months and months, and I'd almost given up. And then along came Corey Landis, who is the vocalist and is the current vocalist, and long may he remain the vocalist. Hello, Corey, you are fantastic. And so yeah, he's done just an amazing job on the last 3 albums, and it's now kind of part of the Black Angel sound. So without Corey, it's now not going to be really Black Angel. So Corey, please don't leave us, okay? Because we need you.
I remember after the first time we were talking, and I remember you reaching out to me and kind of saying, "Hey, Ken, do you know anybody or have anybody that might?" And I was just so glad to hear when you had. And I agree. I now associate Corey's voice so much with what you do. They're so intertwined now in terms of the music and their vocals. So
Yeah, I was totally lucky to find him. I just didn't think it was going to happen, but it did, and he's great, and we work well together. And he's just such a nice guy as well, and a very very talented actor. If you haven't watched a show called The Offer on Paramount about the making of The Godfather,
I haven't watched it, but I have seen the previews for it and have been meaning to check it out.
yeah, he has a part. He has a part in that as an agent. So you'll spot him in that. Yeah, and that's a really really good show. And then also to really give a shout out to Manisha Jones. Manisha Jones is I don't like using the word backing singer, but she does do additional female vocals, on it. And also in the past. We've had Aris and we've had Anne Courtney, who's in a really cool band called Mother Feather. But yeah, Manisha is I guess our main additional vocalist, and she is a wonderful person and really really great to work with. So yeah, that's really the core of what is Black Angel.
Beautiful. So the next thing I want to follow up on is, as you mentioned, I mean, you're someone who has moved around and kind of gone a part of the scene, and I'll tell you what. Especially these last couple albums, something I associate you with is what I call LA goth. And even though, I mean, you have, to me, I don't know, that blend of like early, Mission Sisters, that's it. But then with kind of a Motley Crue, like glamour goth vibe, leather and glitz and the Sunset Strip. And I hear that in your music. And I really love with a band when I can kind of associate them with a particular place or image conjured in my mind when I hear their music. I know that, like I said, you've lived there now, right? Have spent time over in California. Tell me a little bit about how that has affected maybe the way that you think of Black Angel and music.
Yeah, I've been in LA for 15 years now. I guess I'm mainly here, or we're mainly here with my wife and family for the sunshine and for work. We've both worked in the film industry and we continue to work in the film industry. So this is kind of essential that we're here. I actually thought we kind of sounded. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. I mean, I do try and pull influences from when I sit down and write. I never want to try and copy.
No.
And mainly because I can't. You got Bauhaus Sisters, Susie. For me, these are just the epitome of the Gothic sound.
Sure.
And
it's impossible to not be influenced by things you love. That's
yeah, totally. So there's no kind of intentional thing to have the rock side, but Black Angel are definitely more Gothic rock than Gothic. I think Gothic has a very particular set of sounds in it, and the way guitar sounds and bass sounds and drum sounds. For me, traditionally, not say it's wrong or right, but for me, traditionally, that's what I associate with the Gothic sound. But yeah, we try and add a bit more. I guess I was going to say it's a bit more kind of punk, but it is rock and it's just more energy. I think I just want to kind of put more guitars in it. I'm definitely a Sisters fan in terms of like Floodland, and any of their tracks where it's more guitars, like on More. The guitars on that are amazing, and I think that's what I associate with Gothic rock, and that's what I try and put back into it. And I imagine. When I was a lot younger, there was a club called the Whip in Bristol, in England, and they would always play a lot of the Cult, and they always had like a bit of a mosh pit in the middle, and I was always so influenced by that. And I always imagine these tracks, what would they sound like in a club really loud, and would I want to get up and dance to it? So sometimes that's how I kind of judge whether songs should even be on the album. So I think that's where the rock side of it comes from for Black Angel.
Now, do you have those moments like you'll go out to maybe like a goth night or a club there in California? Because I've had that, where I go to and they play an Amaranth song, and it really is. It's kind of this special experience of holy shit, that's me, that's happening. And I know you'd had a lot of, like you said, we heard your things in TV shows or films before, stuff like that. But have you ever had those moments where you pictured what it would sound like in a club, and then you get there in a club, like walk in, and boom, your song's playing, and you get to really experience that and see people on the dance floor enjoying it?
I've pictured it, but I've never done it, and I'd love to do it. I do. I have asked DJs before if they play the song to kind of record a clip on the phone and send it to me and stuff. And that's so nice when you see people, on the dance floor to dancing to your music. But I've not experienced it, but I really would like that. So
Well, you know what?
I think
I'm
I
going
need
to
to.
do it now. I'm going to have our Chaos DJ, my friend, play a Black Angel song, and I'll take some video of it for you, so you can breathe
That's cool.
that in and experience it.
That's very nice. Yeah. That's very cool of you.
So, kind of like we've been saying, to me, a big part of what makes you unique and makes this work is the guitar work and the tone. And things have changed, as you've said, a lot in terms of, take the Sisters Floodlands, where you had, Fender Jazz tube amp, mic'd through and play, it had a very distinct, unique sound that kind of, to me, said goth. And I think you
Right.
guys capture a lot of that. Do you do it in more of a digital way now? And what does your guitar rig and setup when you're recording? Walk me through it and tell me what that looks like, or the types of modules or anything that you use.
I tend to use a company called Line 6, and I'm just looking at the stuff now. I use a box called Amplify TT, which I can basically control from my iPad, which is right here. So the good thing about Amplify TT and using the iPad is you can go on there and you can type in, Daniel Ash, which never comes up, unfortunately, or you can put in Billy Duffy, who is the rock god guitar hero of all time, apart from Jimi Hendrix. And then, so I download a bunch of tones and I start just playing through. And if there's a sound that I associate with or I think is cool for a riff, I store it. And at the beginning of an album project, I don't like, or I try not to make everything the same as the last album. I may bring up the sessions. I work on Logic Pro, and I may bring up. Or actually, I'll listen to the last album and I'll make notes of any particular guitar sounds or tones or bass tones that I really liked. And I'll just go back in and I'll just make a note of what they are, because they'll probably come up again on this album. But I do like to start afresh on each album project. And like I say, I use a Line 6 for that. I use what is it down there? I use a Pod. HD 500 for bass, and everything's all linked through computers. I think if I had more time and more patience, and more money, I'd probably buy more amplifiers and maybe play more. But I kind of come from a producing background, so I kind of have the idea of the tone I want in my head anyway, and I'll go search it and just try and find the sound that I want. And then I just store all of these banks on various kind of computers and devices, and just kind of start writing from there.
What about your guitar? Is there a particular guitar or couple that you really stand by and like to use?
I do. I'm just going to grab it.
Yeah,
I just.
Oh, that's pretty.
This was the one we had in our live video. Yeah, it unfortunately it's not a Gibson. It came from China, but it is active and has active pickups. And when you plug it in and you turn it up, the feedback on this thing, like Nigel Tufnell says, you can go and have a bite. It's the sustain on this is really incredible. And then this is my main writing guitar, and I bought this. This is $100 Fender Squire guitar. It's $100. I bought it for my son to play the guitar, and he didn't want to play it. And it's a mini. It's a short guitar, and I write nearly everything on this thing. I don't know what it is, because there's two of these in the house. I bought my son a replacement and I put it on his wall, of which he still never played it. And that thing it just plays like a piece of junk. But there's just something about this guitar which just plays so well, and I love it.
I hear you. Sometimes it's psychological on that. I have an old Gibson acoustic that I'm the same way. I write almost everything on, God, that guitar has to be 30 years old. I think I got it for a couple $100 or something, but there's just something about, I don't know, it feels familiar. It feels right. And you just get that in your head, that like, this is what, when I'm writing, I need to have it feel like this.
Totally, totally. But I got there's a whole wall full of guitars and basses and stuff down there, and I'd like to think I can play them all. In fact, that's an interesting story. On the last video we did, when we did "Look Me in the Eye," one of the Brittany, who played our bass player, who was the model for the shoot. She said, "Oh, show me how you play this riff for the song." And I said, "You know what? I'll be totally honest. I can't remember. If you said, okay, pick a song, I'd have to sit down and for half an hour and try and work out how I played it, because I tend to write it, record it,
Right.
and then forget about it. And so when we have to play live, which I hope we're going to be able to do more, I got to basically just learn everything again, because
Remember, yeah.
I can't pick up a guitar and just kind of you know shred.
Honestly, I think with like the pandemic and like what the last few, I bet that's really common for a lot of bands because people are still putting out albums, but you're just not touring with them in the same way or playing
Right.
out on regular. And if you're not, you're right. You've already moved on to something new before you really go through what might be the normal process of spending a whole year playing sets and everything of those songs where the muscle memory gets permanently ingrained.
Exactly, and I think that's why we've put out, almost an album a year. Obviously, the pandemic isn't 4 years long, but we kind of we did the first album, got into the second one, then the pandemic struck, and we didn't have chance to go play or tour or do anything like that. So we've just kept writing and releasing and writing and releasing. And I guess at some point we'll have to actually play
Yeah.
and relearn everything.
I hear that. I'm with you on it. So the next thing I want to jump into is you mentioned this. You have a new album out that we've talked about. You've had a couple of singles on it that have made it to either winning or had one that is currently looks like it's going to win on the Sounds and Shadows Dark Scene single chart. And the new album is called The Black Rose. Tell me a little bit about what is, different, or what you did for this album and why it's special to you.
This one, I wanted a slightly different sound. Our first album, The Widow, and then The Widow Extended, because I basically finished The Widow and then took it down because I didn't like how it sounded. I needed to remaster it, and I put some remixes on and stuff so people didn't feel like, oh, I just bought this, why am I buying this again, which is I totally get. Kiss of Death was the second album, and that had, to me, that's probably our most like traditional gothic rock sounding album. I think with tracks like Animal, it's definitely heavily influenced by Sisters of Mercy sound-ish, or that kind of feel. And then for a third album, Prince of Darkness, I wanted this more concept feel, and I wanted a story from beginning to end, which is why the album has actually an introduction, an interlude, and an outro, and it has this character, the Prince of Darkness, who kind of is carried all the way through. And then I thought, well, for the fourth, for the Black Rose, I didn't know whether we were getting a bit kind of boring or a bit stale, and we were kind of doing like concept albums, and it's like I need to make this a bit more raw. Yeah, I just want to make it a bit more raw, and I wanted to kind of go back to what I ideally started with. So this one is more definitely influenced by Bauhaus, just in terms of like Daniel Ash guitar sort of style. I'm using the what do you call it? The EBO a lot more in this, and I really like the sound and what it does. What it does. The EBO with these active pickups, it just has this great tone and sustain and stuff. So I was trying to do more of that and just be a little bit more maybe developed, not necessarily just in terms of like songwriting, but also production. I always trying to up my game every album we do, because we're always learning through the process. And so I like to just each album just it needs to sound a little bit better. It needs to maybe sound a little bit more sophisticated. It can still be simple, but it's got to be sophisticated. And like the videos as well. The videos, the production value has got to be higher,
Yeah.
each time. So I don't know what we're going to be doing for our next album. If it doesn't look like Michael Jackson's Thriller, then
Right.
I'm just going to give up.
Well, I gotta say that is something that really impresses me is you are constantly, and I guess this makes sense because of your background in film and TV and production and whatnot and being in LA, but you are constantly throwing out new, really high quality, really cool videos. When you talk about everything you do in terms of being producer, promoter, songwriter, all these things, how much influence is the video all you too, like storyboarding or come up with an idea, or is that something you usually get a director or something like that to handle?
No, I pretty much do. I pretty much do that. We have a great. I use a great DP and cinematographer called Andrew Giordano, and he did Look Me in the Eye. The other video, All or Nothing, I did with the help of my wife Catherine. So it depends. It sometimes, and I can see the where the look is changed as well if I use a professional DP. But essentially, yeah, I do everything there. I produce it. I cast the people. I come up with the stories. I come up with the locations. The only thing I don't do is my awesome wife Catherine. She helps me sometimes with the camera work. I also went before I got into film. Before I went to film school, I was going to be a photographer, so I have that kind of background as well. So I will often do the camera work, and then after, yeah, I do all the editing and I send out the visual effects. Like in Look Me in the Eye, our main actress Anna, her pupils are blacked all the way through,
Yeah.
like these devil eyes, and so I did send that out to get done because it just takes too long for me to do that. But yeah, essentially, I'm a bit of a one-man band in terms of the video production as well. Because I don't think it's a selfish thing. It's a creative thing, and I just like having, I guess, control of it. I've been in so many bands over the years where, and rightly so, everyone has a fair kind of input and it's very democratic. But this project, because I'd done that for so long, I just wanted to do something that kind of made me happy doing it. So
Yeah,
even
no,
though it can be
you came back and did this for your heart, so you
yeah,
want to have it look like, sound like, and be what your vision was.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So yeah, and I love it. So why
So I'm
not?
going to do a left turn real quick because you've talked a lot about, movies and being involved in TV and whatnot. I'm kind of curious as to, just for people getting to know you a little bit better, are there any movies or shows that you've been into lately that, I don't know, you feel, maybe also were an influence on you from that side of it towards the music you make, maybe?
My favorite movie in the whole world is Spinal Tap. And I can watch Spinal Tap over and over and over again. And myself and my mix partner, Lyle Engel at Warner Brothers, we will just start reciting the whole movie. We'll just pick a scene and we'll just start riffing off each other. It's just, and I think I would just love to be in Spinal Tap, and I would love to go on tour with Spinal Tap. It's one of the only movies I think I can put on and watch over and over and over again. It's just, the writing is incredible, and they're coming back with this Spinal Tap 2 40th anniversary version. I don't know if that's a good idea
Yeah,
because
I always
it's
get worried
just
about things like that, but who knows? Maybe it will be fun. Now, going along with that Spinal Tap concept, I know something recently that both is kind of tapped into goth and definitely plays an homage to Spinal Tap. Have you ever watched the What We Do in the Shadows?
oh, the TV show.
Well, the movie and the TV show, yeah, both.
I've watched little bits of it, and I was actually hoping to get some music placed on the TV show,
Oh, wow.
of which hasn't happened yet, but
Does
it
have
would
a
be
great
nice to.
soundtrack.
Yeah, exactly, and it's so cool when shows like this use goth tracks and music from that genre. So yeah, hopefully there's going to be some more.
Well, if you like Spinal, I do highly recommend checking that show out. I think you would really vibe it. It has that same kind of energy. Anything else like that that you find really interesting in TV or movies lately that you I don't know get excited and kind of find inspiring?
I no, I wouldn't say inspiring. But I do love movies. I work in the movie business every day. Sometimes it's nice to come home and just shut that off because that's what I've been doing for the last 9 hours. Especially if you're in on a dub stage at like 85 decibels and it just hits you all day long. The last thing you want to do is sit down and watch more. But yeah, I'm a total movie buff and one of the reasons I got into this industry is because of the love of movies. And one thing I do at the moment, one of the things I do is movie sound restoration. So we'll take a classic movie like Mad Max, or I just did Poltergeist last week, and we'll just very carefully restore it into what the best it can be. And it feels a real honor to be able to do that.
That's like Poltergeist messed me up when I was a kid. That was one of those movies I saw when I was very young that like the tree scene and stuff that still gets to me. Yeah. That's awesome. And I never thought about that before. Kind of like I used to live with a chef who, he'd get done with a 10-hour shift. He was drummer for Amaranth starting out and get home. And then he would just always eat like a Burger King chicken sandwich because he had spent his whole day making duck à l'orange. And the last thing he wanted to do was like screw around with cooking in any capacity once he got home. So that makes sense. Like I feel that if you're working on a set all day, you get home and you're like, oh, I can't even cope with trying to watch TV right now. I need to do something active and engaged. I don't want to stare at a screen.
Totally.
So we have now reached the part of the interview where we're a music review page at Sounds and Shadows first and foremost. So I always like to hear from an artist that's in the scene and that I enjoy. What are you listening to and enjoying that is kind of also getting you excited in the scene, whether it's somebody you've worked with or just somebody you enjoy and you play and hear?
I think so. There's a couple actually, this is a band that I actually don't know anything about, and maybe you do. It's a band called False Figure, and they had an EP out called A Promised Land, and I'm not sure how I landed on it because I don't spend a lot of time kind of listening to stuff on Bandcamp, but I came across it and I thought that the band had a really, really cool energy. And so I would definitely, if for anyone who hasn't checked that out. And there was another one I was listening to recently, which was Strap-on Halos on their EP. There's a track called Perish, and Layla Renner's vocal on that is just really so good. It's really cool. And that's a really good track. What else have I been listening to? I do want to give a shout out to one. It's actually a radio station that I listen to. Like I say, I'm an 80s kid, and there's a radio station called Gem Radio New Wave. It comes out of it's an internet radio station. It comes out of Dublin in Ireland, and it's 24 hours of new wave and alternative music. And there's no commercials, and there's nobody talks, and it just plays for 24 hours. And I have it on the house pretty 24 hours, and it drives everybody in my house nuts because it's like, oh god, have we got this on again, Dad? And I have it on all the time. So if you like new wave and alternative, and when I say alternative, pretty much anything from the 80s, from the Smiths to the Cult to the Damned, anything like that, it's a really, really good station to check out, and I listen to it all the time, and it's really cool.
Very cool. Very cool. And that's great. I love that you shouted out a radio station on there and something, because that is such an important part of our scene now, as to, like you said, there's so many bands, just so much happening all the time, and trying to find a way to maybe something that you particularly are interested in can be hard to find in the tidal wave of all the new music on Bandcamp and things happening. So before we get to the point where we're going to spin out here, I do want to ask, what are you excited for Black Angel coming up here in the future? I mean, you have the new album out, you have new singles and videos that you've been doing. If we're having a conversation a year from now, what do you want to be telling me and excited about of what's happened for Black Angel?
Okay. So from a year from now, so we've finished our next album, which is it's either called Crimson Black or Devil in a Black Dress. I normally have all my album titles all laid out, like in all the years, in front of me.
Yeah.
So I know what the next two are going to be, and I knew what the last four were going to be. I had all their names sorted out like 5 years ago. So if we talk in a year's time, then we've just finished our new album, which I've already started writing now. We're on the bill for Cruel World for next year.
Yeah.
Even if it's just on the baby stage and the first people on, we want to be. I'd really just love to be on that bill.
Yeah.
That would be cool, because I went to it last week, and I think the Bauhaus performance could possibly be the best performance I've ever seen.
I heard a lot of people saying that were blown away. I saw a couple years back, it was just David J. and Peter Murphy playing in Chicago. So it wasn't everyone. But just incredible I heard and saw video of people going to it that were blown away with how Bauhaus sounded.
It was. I saw Bauhaus a couple of years ago here in LA. To be honest, I was so hammered I can't remember the second half of the set, and I don't remember even getting home. But so I couldn't have been that impressed. And I think part of the Bauhaus show at Cruel World, they were on the big stage. It was night. The light show was incredible, but the best thing about it was the sound. I mean, Daniel Ash, for what looked like just the four of them up there, just sounded really, really incredible. And my favourite has always been in 1985. I went to see The Cure in Birmingham in England, and that's always been my favourite performance. But this was just, it was phenomenal. It was really, really good. So anyway, sorry, go back to the question.
No, well, I would love that for you. I would love to, hear that you guys could be on Cruel World for next year. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. But yeah, we do need to play. We were talking to somebody about maybe doing a mini tour of Italy. Which would be nice. We'd like to do something. We'd like to do something in the US, just a short tour, just to kind of get our feet wet, kind of thing, or maybe on the back of somebody else, another current goth post-punk band that's a lot more popular than us. We'd be happy to kind of tag along as a support group for that. Sure. That would be cool. And then maybe knock out some new videos as well for the new album. Yeah. But I think that's it. I think it's just to me it's just important to keep doing the creative process, and I just love the writing. Even though I get to the end, it's like, oh man, I've had enough. Give it 2 days, and I'm back to it. Yeah. Fortunately, I have I think the most fortunate thing I feel about this is I don't have to rely on it. I know a lot of bands, they're together and it's like, we've got to play, we've got to tour, this is what we do, it's our full-time gig. I think if I did this full-time, I don't know if I would love it so much. I'm in a really fortunate position that my career is super solid, touch wood. It is. Who knows what could happen next week? But I can do this. I do this for pleasure, and as long as I can do this for pleasure, I love doing it. I think if I had to rely on it, I don't know. I think I'd get frustrated a lot more easily.
It's a different kind of pressure, for sure.
Exactly. And I want to be able to do this because I love doing it. And if my career can support doing this, then that's all I can ask for.
And I mean, you get in your head when it's that way. When, look, this is to get money for my family and things like that. Do you maybe smooth some of the edges off or not take some of the chances that you would have, because you have to think about, I need to make sure that this reaches a certain level of popularity, whereas it gives you more artistic freedom when, kind of like you said, you're doing this for you because you want to. You hope people are interested and into it, but this isn't your primary goal in writing a song, is to get one that's popular.
Yeah, and to go on from that, like for example, if we produce a vinyl album and try and sell it on Bandcamp for one of our albums, I end up in a loss, but I want it to be the best physical product it can be, and someone get a real kick out of it.
Yeah.
And so I'd rather do that and make it better vinyl, better printing, and hopefully we even break even, but that doesn't normally happen either. So as long so it's more about, and if we had to do this for real for like a job, then it just wouldn't be the same.
Sure, sure. Okay, so we are now going to get to the point where I ask you, what is the song off the new album that you'd like to spin out to share with people that you think really epitomizes the Black Angel sound on this new album?
Good question. Is it just a song, or is it going to be the video?
Sure, you could do. If you do one that's video, we will play the video. If you do one that's just the song, we will just play the song.
So I'd say "Look Me in the Eye" because we recently finished the video, and I was really pleased with it. I think for the limited budget we had, I think we did okay. I think we did all right. In fact, this was the first video where I've actually kind of cast people. Actually, it's not the first time, but this time we had a slightly bigger cast, and we had a female. I wanted a female drummer for the video and I found a really great person for the part, and I didn't think they were going to be available. So I reached out to somebody else, say, hey, do you think you could do it? And then of course I get an email from the original person who says, yeah, I can do it now. And I'm like, well, what do I do? So I had to go out and buy another drum kit so I could have 2 drum kits in this video. So awesome. I just love people to see it. I think production value is a lot higher. Andrew Giordano, who was the cameraman and DP, he was in it. The girls that were in it were great. Lily Tran, Brittany, Anna, and I'm going to remember the 4th one by the time we get to the end. And of course Corey. And Corey did a fantastic job too. And I really Tiger Lapis. She was the 4th
There it
actress.
is. See, you knew you were going to get that right.
So that's the one. Look Me in the Eye, which is one of our new singles and videos.
Wonderful. Well, from us here at Sounds and Shadows, this has been the interview with Black Angel, and this is their brand new video, Look Me in the Eye. For all of you out there, I'd like to wish you a happy World Goth Day. Keep it dark, y'all.